there. We can now go on to some other stories. Police investigations have started into yet another set of suspected suicide cases. One at Jericho, a neighborhood at Ashaiman here in Accra, and another in Akye Amanfrom in the Afram Plains South District of the Eastern Region. Let's start with a case in the Eastern Region. Her name is Akye Amanfrom, who was 26 years old. Her lifeless body was seen hanging by a water reservoir near the Presbyterian Clinic at Akye Amanfrom. Reports by her family indicate that she had had some issues in her marriage as well as psychological problems. Here is her uncle, who has been speaking to our correspondent in the Eastern Region.
About 3 days ago, her mother was very sick. Upon taking her to the clinic, she had to be hospitalized because of her condition. She came from Nkoko that evening, and we asked her to stay by her mother. Between the hours of 12:30 and 1 a.m., we had a call that she wasn't by her mother, so we decided to check from home whether she was in her room, but all our efforts proved futile. Not knowing, she had hanged herself around the premises of the clinic. Recently, her husband decided to divorce her, so that sparked a mental problem. And I think it had affected her greatly. After the incident, we called her husband, but to no avail. We blame her husband as the cause of her death.
So that is uncle of the deceased, Letitia, there. We can now get an update on that story from our correspondent, Maxwell Kudeko. Maxwell, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, so we knew from earlier this morning that the police, has started investigations. What more do we know at this point?
Well, the police have not, as of now, disclosed to us what the investigations have revealed. The Divisional Police Commander, Chief Superintendent Sifas, told me earlier that investigations are ongoing and that it is premature to comment on the matter. And then he said that in due course, the police will communicate their findings, whether it is a real or it is a suicide or it's some foul play in the whole dealing. But for now, the police have not officially come out as to what have come out from their investigation. The body of the deceased is at the Donkokrum Presby Hospital morgue, pending further investigations so far.
Okay, and how are the family? We know that we've spoken to the uncle who was giving us his side of the story, but what are the other family members saying, or what are the people in the neighborhood saying about her and about the situation?
It has been a sorrowful mood since morning. A lot of the residents, especially the family members, are pointing accusing fingers at the husband who resides at Nkoko. They believe that this can directly be attributed to the husband's action or move to divorce her. We are told that Letitia Amanfrom had some illness. He was sick for some time, and the husband threatened, or if you like, he initiated move to divorce her. But her situation got worsened when she heard that the husband want to divorce her. Right. So almost everybody in the family is accusing the husband for causing, or if you like, his action.
They're blaming him for the suicide.
Yes,
what's expected to be suicide.
Exactly.
Please go ahead.
Sorry?
Yes, please go ahead with the point you were making.
Yeah, I'm saying that we are told that Letitia visited the husband last Sunday. That was Sunday in the morning, and returned from Nkoko. And then when she returned, apparently we are told that she came to complain that the husband is getting married to her best friend in the shortest possible time. So just as I indicated earlier, most of the family members believe that she took her life because she felt that she was losing her husband to her closest friend.
But they have no concerns about they don't suspect, so to speak, any foul play in this matter, do they?
For now, almost all the family members I've encountered don't suspect any foul play, but they are attributing the action possibly to the initiative or the move by the husband to divorce her and then go for her best friend.
Okay, and have they got any children? How are they doing? Do we know?
We are told Letitia is a mother of two. It's a mother of two, and the children, as of this morning, were not informed about the incident.
Right.
So we hope that they are fine now.
Okay, thank you very much, Maxwell. Maxwell Kudeko is our correspondent in the Eastern region. That's a blurred photo of Letitia earlier this morning. Here, she was found hanging on that water reservoir. Let's now go to Ashaiman, where the lifeless body of Bright Kwame Wovi, believed to be in his 30s, was also seen hanging on a tree this morning. His mother and brothers are currently assisting the police with investigations, whereas members of his extended family have been holding meetings. Kwame Yanka has been following that story closely. He's on the line right now. Hello, Kwame.
Hello, Gipsy.
We understand that the police says they're investigating. Of course, that's what they've said about all the other cases. How far have they come with their Ashaiman case? Is there any details they're giving you?
Not as I speak, in the sense that the mother, that Emilia Mensah, is just returned from the police station. She's actually assisting the police as far as the investigation is concerned. And then some family friends, as well as neighbors, are chipping in to just, as it were, mourn with her. But they're actually in a state of shock in the sense that last night, according to some friends around, he was all over the place, with the usual way of, cracking jokes, insulting, boys around, as it were, only for them to know that, well, he's no more this morning. So it sounds as a shock to many, as far as his death is concerned.
And has he got children? Has he got a wife? What's are the family members saying about, his family life there?
For married, it's no, and then no child, as it were. He's not married. He's in his 30s, like you rightly put it. But there are two. In fact, what I'm learning is that in the last 8 to 10 years, it's been Madame Emilia Mensah who has, single-handedly raised these two because her husband passed away over 8 years ago. So for them to have come this far, it's not been easy. She's into young business. She cooks, and then people around or residents or neighbors just patronize her food. So that's what she's lived on, as well as selling some fish. Be able to single-handedly raise these two boys who are now men. Because they're in their 30s and as it were, they are men. So this guy is actually a trailer driver who has been in the business for some time, but those I've been speaking to are not sure of what is really going on, whether what led to his death this morning. It's coming directly from his business or from their family's end. That is not that cannot be confirmed at the time.
So, I wanted to find out from you whether they suspect foul play. If you could do that quickly, we could move on with this story and have a conversation with the Christian Council. Kwame, do they suspect foul play?
For foul play, it is very difficult.
Okay.
But from the way he was hanging, part of his body was, he was trapped in between the very tree where the suicide incident occurred. So it's very difficult to whether he was actually murdered or this suicide, as it were. Yeah.
Okay, we'll still have to wait for the police to give us more information
Sure.
on that. Thank you very much, Kwame Yanka, as our correspondent in the in Ashaiman, in Tema, giving us an update on what's happened in Tema. Well, there were 3 reported cases only last week. Today, there has been 2 so far, making it about 7 so far, if you put all that have happened together, including what's been happening at the KNUST and University of Ghana, these are suspected suicide cases. So several discussions based on mental health have been held. Now let's explore a spiritual angle. You're still watching The Pulse with me, Gifty and Opia. I'm going to take a very quick break. When we return, we'll try and raise Dr. Opuni on the line again, but we will continue with our discussion. We'll look at the Islamic perspective as well as the Christian perspective. Please stay with us. Welcome back to the show. Thank you very much for staying. We can now go over the telephone and speak with Dr. Opuni Frimpong, who is General Secretary of the Christian Council of Ghana. Hello, Doc. Thank you very much for your time here on The Pulse.
Thank you, and sorry the line dropped.
Yes, that's okay, though. Let me take your thoughts about this worrying trend of suicide recently.
Yes, maybe let me use your platform to express our condolences to the various families who have lost their world in this unfortunate circumstances. But let me also say that the recent suicide manifestations are also saying something to us as a nation in terms of the various socialization processes, how we are getting people integrated into society, and the challenges they are going through, whether we know or we don't understand what people are going through, especially our young people. The more we hear and witness what we are witnessing recently, it suggests that from all angles, academic institutions, back at home, family levels, we need to do more to appreciate the challenges that Ghanaian young people are going through. In academic institutions, lecturers, teachers are supposed not only to address issues on the cognitive level, but also the emotional side. Or maybe the class sizes are not helping us. That you go to class, but you are having 200, 500 class, and so the personal touch that we must know as students and what they are going through, we are missing at that. We need to bring all stakeholders together to address the current challenges that Ghanaian young people are going through.
Okay, Doc, I'd like for you to tell us what the stakeholders you're talking about together and what nature of the discussion that this group of stakeholders should have. But let me just also announce that we've got Sheikh Shaibu Arimiya, who speaks for the National Chief Imam, in the studio. Sheikh, thank you very much for coming. I'll take your initial thoughts as well. But Doc, you were still having the saying. Perhaps we should begin to look at the sizes of the class, for instance. You're saying also, you're saying also that stakeholders should come together. Now, the Mental Health Authority has indicated that they want to embark on a massive public education. Is that what you're talking about when you say stakeholders should come together and have a conversation about this trend of suicide?
Let me say good afternoon to my friend Sheikh. But it's part of it. But now we need families must come on board and help our young people. Sometimes the aspirations and expectations we give to our young people and what we consider failure to be. The mere fact that I've sent a child to school who is not performing well to my satisfaction, or if the child is in science and the child is not doing very well, it doesn't mean that maybe if the child gets into some professional, vocational line, the child will not do well. So parental expectations need to be considered. They are part of it. Religious leaders are part of it. Now, what we consider failure and success to be, the kind of sermons we are preaching, I have prayed for you, you will never have problems. We know that problems are associated with growth. So we must get our young people ready to solve problems, rather than giving them impression that pastor has given you anointing and holy water and all that, all your problems are over. There's something that media people must also come on board. The kind of programs we are putting out there for our young people and children also to watch, because some of them are learning this suicidal manifestation from movies and from their mobile phones. And of course, our government and managers of academic institutions must come on board. So yes, we need public education, but it must be well targeted. And the young people must also accept that suicide is a permanent solution to problems that are temporary. So we need to target our young people, that the mere fact that you have failed exam, even if you are pregnant, whatever the challenges are, it doesn't mean your end has come. So yes, I will go for a public campaign, but it must be well targeted family, academic managers, religious leaders, our government, media, and the young people themselves.
What targeted campaign you'd say, Doc? I'll come back, Doc. If you could just hold briefly for me, so I can ask of you what you make of this, what your interpretation will be from a spiritual perspective. But let me take your initial thoughts, Sheikh, on the trend of suicide that we're seeing from perhaps an Islamic perspective.
Let me also use this opportunity to express my condolences and sympathies to all affected families. A loss of a dear one can be very painful, and we hope that God himself will touch their hearts and give them the comfort. Having said so, just from about, I think, 2 weeks ago or so, when we began hearing this, and they were following each other in certain
rapidly,
sequence. And it gave me cause also to begin to reflect as to what could be the cause, particularly when these are people who are in academic institutions where we thought that where they have found themselves gives them hope. Expectations are very high. They are going to finish their courses and become very important people in life. And so what is it that can trigger the mind of a young person to end his life?
Right.
But apart from that, we've also had several cases. Personally, I heard that my first information about suicide goes back to about, say, 40 years ago when a student in a secondary school at the time ended his life because, and he left a note that a girl that he was pursuing had jilted him, and he could not contain the pain, and he thought that that was the way he should be able to assuage and end his life. For very funny reasons, you can find people ending their lives. One of my shock, some years back here at the Trust Towers here in Accra, we woke up in the morning just to hear about somebody going up the building,
and then
throwing
jump down.
himself down. And when we later noticed that he had all the comforts of life, he had car, he had a very well-trimmed hair, there was a car key beside him, and they noticed that he even occupied a place at the University of Ghana, Legon. So I asked, what could really be the reason why such events?
For you, is it more spiritual or sociological? As I mean, Dr. Puni has mentioned that there are sociological issues that we need to deal with as a country, how we orient our young people to deal with problems. But do you see that, well, there could perhaps be, this is a country that that's superstitious, if you like. Do you think that it's more spiritual than sociological?
Yeah, no, these things can have the dimension that is spiritual and the dimension that is sociological and psychological.
Right.
In the psychology, something goes around in the mind and it's giving you cause to, for example, when somebody is in pain or is in anguish or he's gripped by anxiety, what is the threshold that when he hits goes beyond what he can manage? And within that period, who is there to give him the support? That is where, for example, the religious bodies come in.
Okay.
How are the religious bodies within the mosque system, within the church system, how are able to determine that, look, this guy is in a certain kind of disturbing situation?
I mean, we've got lots of people in the church. We've got lots of people in, I mean, the congregations are huge. How do you manage and take care of those people?
So that is why probably in the arrangement of the church, we must do it in such a way that we are able to come into certain closer, smaller circles where we are able to, so that even the absence of one or the radical change in the behavior of one is noticeable.
Okay.
So that then we begin, now when you do the actual counseling aspect of it, then you now back it up with the spiritual.
Okay.
The hope which our religions also give, it appears to me that probably we are unable to use that as a basis to be able to work out against these difficulties that we go through. If you if you want to talk to
yes, I'll just because he's on the phone, so we don't keep him hanging so long. Doc, I'm back to you. Are you able to interpret this from any spiritual perspective, as in what really is happening in the country? Has it got any spiritual dimension, do you think?
Yes, we can rule out that there are spiritual challenges, but we must also be very careful that we don't push things into the spiritual realm and then fold up our hands as if there's nothing we can do. We admit there can be spiritual things, but there are emotional, psychological. Some of them are in school, they are having challenges in relationships. Some of them are having challenges with academic. Parental upbringing is an issue, socialization, processes our issues. But even if we go into the spiritual, our pastors must also go beyond prayer. You know, we have counseling where we should be able to help people who feel that they are down, they are in the valley, to discover strength within themselves. One way is to even just give phone lines that if you're a young person that you need to talk to somebody, call me. Now we have pastors at the moment that church members cannot approach. It's becoming difficult for church members to approach their pastors unless we do deliverance and give any miracle stuff. But our pastors must journey with our people, and we must be accessible. You know, so pastors, yes, we must pray for our members, but beyond prayer, let us give them impression that you can count on me. I'm here for you. And the tendency where now our pastors, top pastors, are building barriers where members cannot get closer to them. You get to a problem, or you get into a challenge, and it's my pastor is not the person to contact.
Not able to. But Doc, you agree that these pastors themselves sometimes they have got issues. Who do they run to if they have got to, you know, bottle in everybody else's problems? Isn't that another problem that we're creating there if we should begin to make them the source of the solace for everybody else's problem?
No, okay, the point is, I mean, the social side, the emotional side, the psychological side, we may bring in all others, the stakeholders we mentioned earlier on. The spiritual side, those we need to call and fall on. Our pastors and our church leaders, they may also have their challenges, but that is what ministry is all about. If you are in ministry, you are a beggar who is searching for food, but in your search, you have found food. And as you move towards where the food is, you get other people along. Now let's go together. You know, so pastors are not people who have been able to solve all their problems. They have challenges, but then they are able to go beyond their personal comfort and be there for others. Church is relevant if pastors cannot journey with their people. And pastors must also get other people, counselors, who are able to probe into issues and help people discover strength. We need counselors in academic institutions. Now, that is the problem. Years ago, you go to class and you have 50, 100 students. Now, I teach at Akye University and other campuses. You look at the class and 500 students. Now, sometimes you need to look at your student, you look straight into the eyes, and you feel that something is not right. Then you invite the student after class, can I see you? Now, it's like we don't have time for our young people. It is in classroom, and now parents are also missing that emotional, personal, spiritual time. And I think we need to address that. But the issues are more than spiritual. The more we are witnessing what we are witnessing, we must confront it from all angles. Spiritual, parental upbringing, academic managers must come on board. Media also are nurturing young people in a certain way. They watch how people are committing suicide. And that's why it's possible now for 10, 12 years also to commit suicide, because they've learned it from somewhere. So I think the issues we are discussing are, yes, spiritual, but they are bigger than the spiritual. We need to address the spiritual, but the emotional and other sectors must be addressed. It's a collective responsibility, and we must accept it as such.
Okay, thank you very much, Doc. Since you're in a meeting, we won't hold you any longer. Thank you very much for bringing your perspective to this discussion. I've still got in the studio, well, that is Reverend Dr. Opuni there speaking to us. Well, let's wrap it up with Sheikh in the studio. You've heard all that he said about how we're losing touch. We're losing touch spiritually, emotionally with our young people. Where can we start as a spiritual leader? Where do you suggest that we start from if we've got to deal with this and deal with it once and for all?
Once it is a reality that is confronting us, and we are operating within the spiritual realm. In other words, we are facilitators of spiritual development and consciousness. The church and the mosque, they provide the platforms for all. You know, one African philosopher said that the African is incurably religious. In other words, you can use religion as a means also to help people out of their problems.
Right.
The hope that religion gives is what we need to emphasize and educate people how to manage their difficulties. For example, we know that sometimes there are trials of life.
Yeah.
In other words, life is up and down. Now, when you are down, how do you manage it? It's not always joy.
Yeah.
How do we make our young people to come to terms with these realities and fact of life? That you cannot have a life that is so monolithic, but that it can go up, it can come down, and sometimes in the downside gives you a lesson to be able to be more successful in future.
Yeah.
And in life, great people have failed in their examinations. My daughter wrote her first examination. It was not good. When I came home, I said, look, it's okay, we will register you again. But assuming I had shouted on her, you pay this money on you.
Wasted my money, yeah.
That she's not able to come to me. What runs into her mind, only God knows.
Yeah.
And so I think that is the way we should. And so we should create smaller circles for counseling, for engagement, for bonding, and for solidarity. And then professional counseling must be factored into our systems within the church, within the mosque, so that young people must be given the confidence that when they have issues bottled up, they have somebody to talk to.
Okay.
So when you talk, it gives a vent, and then it lessens the pain a bit. But when there's nobody to talk to, you are stigmatized, you are embarrassed, there's nobody to give you support. That is what leads people to some of these situations. And finally, we have to add our prayer, because we cannot do without it. We pray for our young people. Whoever has a difficulty, we pray God soothe his heart and lift him up. Wherever he's feeling down, may God lift him up. And life must go on.
Life must go on. But whatever it is that you're going through, like you're saying, it's a phase. It's a phase. You get through it. So sometimes you learn, like Sheikh is saying, you learn from that particular phase, and it helps you to be more successful in the next phase of your life. Thank you very much, Sheikh, for coming through. So Sheikh Shaibu Arimiyao speaks for the National Chief Imam, and he has been able to, very short notice, join us in the studio here. Over the telephone with me was Reverend Dr. Opuni Frimpong, who is General Secretary of the Christian Council of Ghana. So, well, let's deal with it as quickly as possible, and as good as we can as a country. You're still watching The Pulse with me.